Welcome to another chilling tale that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Let's dive into a story filled with suspense and spine-chilling moments, perfect for a late-night scare. I was a high school student and a passionate member of my school's basketball team. Our school, Lincoln High, was known for its massive campus, featuring separate fields for every sport. During the summer, we often practiced in the evening when the weather was cooler. After sunset, the school grounds took on a different aura. Quiet, eerie, and empty. The setup. It was a warm summer day, and a thunderstorm had drenched the city in the afternoon. By evening, the air was cool, and the sky had cleared. After Maghrib prayers, I grabbed my basketball and headed to the school. The streets were empty, the air still damp from the rain. When I arrived at the school gate, I noticed no one else had shown up yet. I waited for a few minutes, but with no sign of my teammates, I decided to enter through the small side gate. The campus felt unusually quiet, and the wet grass muffled my footsteps. The first jolt. As I stepped onto the basketball court, one of the light poles around the court flickered to life on its own. Startled, I stopped in my tracks, staring at the glowing bulb. Within seconds, the remaining 7 poles lit up one by one, flooding the court with light. My initial shock turned to curiosity. Maybe someone arrived earlier, turned the main switch on and left, I thought, dismissing the eerie feeling creeping up my spine. Shaking off my unease, I began practicing my shots. Soon after, I heard voices in the distance and realized my teammates were arriving. Relieved, I continued playing as their silhouettes emerged from the dark. The blackout. Just as the boys stepped onto the court, the lights abruptly went out, plunging the area into darkness. We all froze, looking around in confusion. Oddly enough, the streetlights outside the school and the nearby houses still had power. One of the boys approached the main switch near the pole and flipped it back on. The court was illuminated once more, but his puzzled expression didn't go unnoticed. The switch was off. "How were the lights on before?" he muttered, his voice trembling slightly. We tried to brush it off, blaming it on electrical glitches from the earlier rainstorm. Everyone shrugged it off and began their practice. The ball that moved on its own. As the night went on, I focused on improving my shots. I aimed for the hoop and threw the ball, but it soared higher than expected, landing in the neighboring field. Annoyed, I jogged over to retrieve it. Stepping into the darker field, I scanned the ground for my ball. The faint light from the court barely reached here, making it difficult to see. After a few moments, I spotted it lying a few feet away. I walked over, bent down and grabbed it. But as soon as my fingers touched the ball, a cold, sinking feeling washed over me. I froze in place as I noticed something right next to the ball, a pair of bare feet. The terror unfolds. Startled, I instinctively looked up, my eyes tracing the legs that seemed impossibly long. My gaze traveled higher and higher, but there was no end in sight. My heart pounded as I took a shaky step back, clutching the ball tightly. Without thinking, I turned and sprinted back toward the court, glancing over my shoulder multiple times. The legs were still there, following me at an unnatural pace. The sound of my own breathing and the faint thud of my footsteps echoed in my ears. As I reached the brightly lit court, I risked one final glance behind me. The field was empty. No legs, no figure, just darkness. The haunting realization. I stood there panting, clutching my knees as my teammates gathered around, asking what had happened. I couldn't muster the courage to explain. That night, we finished our practice in tense silence, and I never stayed late at school again. Conclusion. Even now, I wonder what I saw that night. Was it a figment of my imagination, a shadow distorted by my fears, or was there truly something lurking in the darkness waiting for unsuspecting visitors? Think twice before staying alone in unfamiliar places, especially when the lights flicker on their own.